Welcome to Math Mini Lessons. My name is Sarah Fuentes, and in today's lesson, we're going to simplify expressions by combining like terms and using the distributive property. In yesterday's lesson, we reviewed combining like terms, and what were we looking for? We were looking for terms that were the same that we can simplify into at least one simple term. So for example, here in our 4x plus 6, we saw that all these x's, instead of having them expanded out, and instead of having them as two terms, 4x and 6x, we can just express them as 10x's. And our 3 just stands alone. There's no other way to simplify that. But at least we have this down to two terms. And on the right, our 3x, our 5, and our 3y's, unfortunately, we couldn't combine these together. So even though we had variables that were letters, we don't know what these variables are, but we do know that they are not the same number. If they were the same number, we would use the same variable. So in this case, it already was, in simplest terms, 3x plus 5 plus 3y. There was nothing else to combine the same. And in our middle one, we saw that when we have more than 2 or 3 terms, a best practice is to just put the things that are alike next to each other. Like seeks likes, and proximity is something we want to achieve. So in this case, I'm putting my variables of x's next to each other, 3x minus 2x, and our constants next to each other as well. And this will allow us, again, to combine the terms that are the same. And notice at this point I'm becoming more fluent. I don't have to draw everything out, but I can conceptually understand if I have 3 x's and I take 2 x's away, that's going to leave me with 1 x. And if I have 5, I have 5, and plus 3, so I'm going to have altogether 8. So that's nice to simplify, 1x plus 8, or I could even make it look more simple, x plus 8. And that's what we reviewed yesterday. We're going to add on to that a little bit more. First, we're going to think about distributive property. And this is just another way to unpack grouping. There is some multiplication happening here that isn't always clear and easy. So let's unpack it. If I just had 4x, we know that I would just have 4 groups of the same number, x. In this case, I have 4 groups of 2x plus 3. In other words, I have 2x plus 3, and I have another 2x plus 3, and I have another 2x plus 3, and I even have another 2x plus 3. Look at how long that looks. This is really big. And so instead of just writing it all out, they've just shown you have 4 groups of the same number. The same process. And we express that is what's happening here when you see 4 times 2x plus 3. It just means I have 4 groups of 2x plus 3. Now, if I want to simplify this all together, yes, you could rewrite it and you would have 2x plus 2x, because remember we want the terms that are the same together, and then plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And now that they're together, you can just combine the things that are alike and just know that all of these can be simplified into 8x, and all these 3's can be simplified to 12. But there is a much faster way of doing this, and it has to do with just recognizing there's multiplication and just doing that multiplication out in our minds. Some teachers call this the bird beak method. I'll just say it's multiplication. The 2x plus 3, and they call it bird beak because they make it look like this is a little bird beak, and this is another bird's beak. But all you're really doing is you're doing the multiplication. You're saying I have 4 groups of 2x, so 4 times 2 is 8, and they're just writing it as 8x, and 4 times 3, or positive 3, let's be very, very clear, and I have 12. And that's it. That's all we have to do for distributing. Notice how I was trying to be really clear about 4 times positive 3, because there are going to be some cases, Math Marvels, where you might have a negative sign. In that case, you're going to have to remember how to multiply with positive and negative numbers. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a lot more practice with distributing. And again, if you are at the stage where you do need to write things out, go ahead if that's what really helps you. But know that our goal is to really get you to this more efficient model where you just recognize that a number in front of parentheses just means multiplication. So you can multiply this number times each term within the parentheses. Let's hit pause so you can jot this down into your notes. And we'll run into our next model. So we're going to try simplifying this expression out. So again, this is just nice practice. I have 4 terms, not a negative signs. That's okay. But our first thing to remember is put things that are alike next to each other. Proximity. So 10y minus 3y. Notice I have to carry this negative sign with it when I move it over. I can't just put the 3y. And minus 5, minus 9. Now this will be easier to combine together. 10y minus 3y is just going to give us 7y. And on my right side, negative 5 minus 9. Now, if this still confuses you, I know in 7th grade this was very tricky for a lot of kids. You can rewrite this using additive inverse, meaning I can take this subtraction problem, keep the first term, minus 5, change this subtraction to addition, and then I take this second term here, this 9, and I'm just going to turn it into its opposite. So what is the opposite of 9? Well, its opposite is negative 9. And this will help you to see, oh yeah, I have a negative 5 plus a negative 9. Or if I owe someone $5 and I owe them another 9, I'm just going to owe them more money if a money model really helps. So I can just reduce this to one term. I would have negative 14. So that was just a really quick review because I know when we have negative integers, it gets a little tricky. So let's hit pause for a second so we can add this to our notes. And if you didn't need the additive inverse, if you just saw this and said, bruh, negative 5 minus 9, this is just negative 14. Fantastic, great. But some of us need to work it out a little bit more to be more certain. That's fine too. So if you weren't too sure and you needed to do additive inverse, that's fine, Math Marvels. Anyway, hit pause so we can jot this into your notes. We have one more model. Ooh, and this one is feisty. Loving this one. 5 groups of t plus 2 minus 3 groups of 2t plus 4. And I'm going to just model being really efficient in this process, and instead of drawing it all out and writing t plus 2, t plus 2, t plus 2 again and again and again, we're going to use our multiplication method, and we're going to multiply this 5 times each term within the parentheses. So 5 groups of t is the same as 5t, and 5 groups of positive 2 is positive 10. Easy peasy. And now for the one on the right, as I get ready to multiply, I want us to be really careful. I'm going to make sure that I'm multiplying by negative 3. That really matters. A lot of kids only see this 3 and they want to multiply the 3 part, but this negative sign is going to be real important. So make sure that if you see a sign in front of it, you're adding that to your multiplication. So negative 3 groups of 2t. Again, I'm just multiplying the negative 3 and my coefficient 2 gives us negative 6t. And negative 3 groups of 4 gives us negative 12. So far so good. We've gotten rid of the parentheses in this problem. We're down to only 4 terms. So let's put the things that are like next to each other. So that's 5t minus 16 and positive 10 minus 12. Makes it a little bit easier. So we'll start with the one on the left. 5t minus 6t's, that's going to give us a negative 1t. Or again, in that 1, we don't always show it. It's just going to give us a negative t. So I'm going to write that as negative t. And 10 minus 12 is going to give us negative 2. So we are done. We have reduced this down to only 2 terms. Hit pause so you can jot this into your notes. I hope this was really helpful, Math Marvels. You can now go on to practice and work on being an expert in using the distributive property and combining like terms when you see algebraic expressions. I will see you in the next lesson. Take care.